Hey folks, Wally DM here, and today we're going to take a look at Tinny Dungeons. This is a tiny role-playing game in a tin box. This is going to come with a one-shot adventure, plus plenty of ideas to be able to expand this to a full campaign. Now this was sent to me by Archmage Respawn, and if you recall we did a video a few months ago with a deck of mini encounters. So today we're going to unbox this, we're going to take a look at the characters, we're going to learn how to play the game, and take a look at the adventure and the world it's set in. Let's check it out. So let's take a look at what each of the cards in Tinny Dungeons represents. We have our introduction card, which is the Game Master Guide that's going to show the GM how to use the dice rolls and how to run the adventure. We then have 4 different player character cards, and on the back of each player's character card is a player's guide, and this will tell the players how to roll when they have a DC to beat, if they're trying to do a challenge, or if they're participating in combat. Now the 4 pre-generated PCs that the players can choose from is Bunzo, the Halfling Thief, we have Renetha, the Elf Wizard, Gamuli, the Dwarf Fighter, and Brother Lactarius, the Human Cleric. And there's also one additional card if you want to create your own player character to run in the game. We also have 3 location cards, which is the city of Waycross. We have a region card that shows the city of Waycross in the southwest corner and the adventure that the characters can take to the Orcish Treasury, which is where they're going to seek out and find treasure. And then the Orcish Treasury card, which is going to be a dungeon crawl with 8 different areas that they can explore. Now all of these are included with a pencil so that you can keep track of things, 2 6-sided die, and these are the only dice that you'll need to run this adventure. And of course they come with this really nice tin that you can keep your adventure in and pack it away and take it with you on the go. So now we're going to do 2 things. We're going to take a look at how to play the game, and then I'm going to go over the location cards and just give you a brief introduction of what you can find there. So let's start with taking a look at our characters. So we have Gamuli, the Dwarf Fighter, and you see under abilities we have Strength 2, Dex 1, and Mind 1. Now when determining a result for these type of challenges that include either Strength, Dexterity, or Mind, the 2 or the 1 show how many dice you roll. So with a Strength 2, you would roll 2 6-sided die, and with a Dex 1, you would roll 1 6-sided die. Gamuli starts with 4 hit points, and you can keep track of that with your pencil in this empty area. He carries a battle axe, which is based on strength, and has a special skill, a whirlwind strike. Once a day, you can make an attack that can hit every adjacent opponent. And each of our other characters also have similar capabilities. With our cleric, we have a mind that is a 2 6-sided dice roll. They also have a decent armor class and weapon, and they are able to heal some wounds, and that is reflective of their mind DC. Let's take a look at our Elf Wizard, who is very similar to our Cleric, except the armor class is lower. So the armor class on the Cleric was a 5. The Elf Wizard only has a 3, but they also have the Mind of 2, a staff that is based on strength for the weapon, and a special skill for the Wizard is they get to hurl a fireball, and if that fireball hits, it's going to deal 1 damage. You can use it instead of a normal attack, and that is going to be with the Mind ability. And then we have Bunzo, our Thief. Bunzo is, of course, going to be strong with Dex, being able to roll 2 6-sided die. Armor class is in between the Fighter, Cleric, and the Wizard at a 4. 3 hit points. They have a Slingshot, which is Dex base, and a Dagger that is Strength base. And of course, the Thief has Sneak Attack, allowing them to perform an additional attack with a dagger when the enemy is focused on someone else. Makes sense for the Thief. So let's take a look at how combat works. Let's say that we are exploring the area or the region, and we go to the Daymoon Woods, and we encounter a wolf. A wolf has an armor class of 3 and 2 hit points. So Gamuli, our fighter, has a battle axe, and they have a strength of 2, so they would roll 2 6-sided dice, and they just need to beat an armor class of 3, and we have a 7. So Gamuli is going to hit the wolf. So a wolf is very easy for Gamuli to hit, and anytime a character deals damage with one of their weapons, it's going to be 1 point. And then since a wolf has 2 hit points, it'll take 1 more hit and then it'll be down. So with that in mind, let's say that Brother Lactarius uses his mace. He rolls a 1 because it only has a strength of 1. That attack is going to miss. And then we have Bunzo, our Halfling Thief. Now he has a special attack, which is a sneak attack. You can perform an additional attack with a dagger when the enemy is focused on someone else. Now the dagger is strength based, So we'll do 1 attack, and that's all he's going to need to be able to finish off that wolf. The wolf had an armor class of 3, rolls a 6, that'll cost 1 point of damage to that wolf, and that will kill the wolf. But if Bunzo would have missed, he wouldn't have been able to roll the 6-sided die an additional time because of his sneak attack skill. Next, we're going to take a look at challenges. Now, challenges are determined by a DC score, and a character would have to roll that DC score or higher in order to succeed. Now, in Tinny Dungeons, a DC of 4 is challenging, and a DC of 6 is very hard. And this is going to be based on a single 6-sided die. Now, if we're role-playing, there's a great example here. If Brother Lactarius wanted to convince guards to let the party in without a fight, he would roll a 2d6 because that is a mind check. And Brother Lactarius has 2 for a mind skill, so he gets to roll 2d6. Now, as the game master, we can decide if that's going to be challenging with a 4 or very hard with a 6. Let's say that it's challenging. Brother Lactarius would roll 2d6, gets a 7. A 7 is higher than the challenging 4 that was required, so Brother Lactarius is able to convince the guards to let the party in without a fight. Now, another type of a challenge is a trap. And if we take a sneak peek at the Orcish Treasury in room 1, it is actually going to contain a trap. And this trap has a disarm dex DC 5 and an evade DC 4. And if you fail and do not evade the trap, you're going to lose 1 hit point. And just as a reminder, every character has their hit points located on their card, and you usually lose 1 hit point of damage every time you are hit with an effect like a trap or by a monster. So in this example, we're going to use Renetha, the elf wizard, and we're going to say that she steps and triggers a trap. So she's going to only be able to roll 1 6-sided die because she has a dex of 1 to see if she can evade the trap. She rolls the die, and unfortunately, it's a 1. So Renetha is going to step into the trap, and she's going to lose 1 of her 3 hit points. Now, let's say that the characters are able to find the trap and want to try to disarm it. Then we can have Bunzo, our thief, come up because Bunzo's got a dex of 2. And again, looking at the trap in the Orcish Treasury, the DC to be able to disarm it is a 5. Now, if any other character with a dex of 1 were to try to disarm it, they would have to roll a 5 or higher. But since Bunzo gets 2 dex dice, then he gets to roll 2d6. And we roll a 7, and that's going to be enough since the DC was 5 to disable the trap. Now, a quick introduction. If you're going to be the game master for this tiny or tinny dungeon, there are a few extra things that you need to know. We've already discussed DC. We have discussed or at least looked at armor. Every monster or character is going to have an armor class, and to hit that armor class, you have to roll that or higher. And we have hit points. If you are hit by a monster or a player character hits a monster or you fall into a trap, you're going to take 1 hit point of damage. Now, with regards to initiative, each character and each monster will roll a 6-sided die, and that will determine their place in the initiative order, with ties going to the player characters. And finally, as you can tell, the game of Tiny Dungeons is going to involve a lot of improv gaming. So if you get to a point where you have a little bit of uncertainty, you can always just take a d6 where an even number is yes and an odd number is no. Now, what I really love about the Tinny Dungeons is the level of detail that has gone into these 3 tiny cards to give you 3 separate locations. So let's take a look at each of those. The first one is the city of Waycross, and Waycross is divided into 5 different sections. You have Gloomcross, the Wine Mill, the Castle, the South Quarter, and Stone Bridge. And on the back, it gives 1 location, and if it pertains to a location, an NPC to go with it. And this is a lot of fun. Of course, you do have to do some improv and some role-playing if the characters decide to go visit these places, but you have the Black Diamond Tavern, the Hall of Illumination, the Golden Vineyard, the Castle Dungeons, which is in the Castle District, and the South Quarter Market. And each section or each location gives a tiny bit of information that you can use in order to run this type of social or role-playing or even combat encounter in your game. You can also derive additional quests outside of going to the Orc's Treasury, such as the Castle Dungeons. The dungeons are the domain of the cruel and sadistic warden, Lord Drogon. Many prisoners have been known to disappear without a trace in his custody. So maybe someone has disappeared and the characters need to go to the Castle Dungeons in order to find out what happened. Now the region or the world map, this is really cool. We start in the beginning at Waycross, and in this Tinny dungeon we're going to go to the Orcish Treasury. So we're going to go through the Daymoon Woods, we're going to go through the Merc Ridge Mountains, and then we're finally going to get to the Orcish Treasury. But there's other locations on the map. We have the Dungeon of Wisdom, we have the city of Froston and Darkrot, we have the Raven Forest up here, so all kinds of a world to explore. The whole Tinny Dungeons 10 is a complete sandbox. Really clever. Now those locations that were on the map, we have the Daymoon Woods, Mark Ridge, Darkrot, Froston, the High Farm, Pale Court, Dragon Forge, Archive of Far, and the Dungeon of Wisdom. And a little bit of information is given about each one. So if we look at, let's say, the Dungeon of Wisdom, this is a labyrinth dungeon crafted by a powerful wizard, filled with traps, puzzles, and magical guardians. Armor class 3, hit points 3. Its depths hold treasures beyond imagining, but few have ever returned from its depths. So now the Dungeon of Wisdom is not inside the Tinny dungeon, but this allows for the Dungeon Master or Game Master, after we have explored the Orcish Treasury, to open up this tiny world for future adventures. And it really gets your brain going as far as what the heck would be in the Dungeon of Wisdom. But what really drew me into the Dungeon of Wisdom and why I might develop this further is because it's filled with traps and puzzles. That's super exciting. Let me know in the comments section below what types of traps and puzzles do you think would be in the Dungeon of Wisdom. And then finally we have the Orcish Treasury. This is our dungeon crawl. This will be the final leg of our adventure. We have 8 different sections. The map is well drawn. You can draw this out or run Theater of the Mind. You have sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, which is our end boss battle. So we're going to begin in room 1 with It's a Trap, as we previously seen. In section 2 we've got some kobolds, then we've got a statue of a dragon, a closed wooden door, we've got some orcs, we've got a trap door where you can pick up an NPC fighter to help you. In room 7 we have a stone door to the treasury, and then in room 8 we have the basilisk. And I found this fascinating, that each time a character needs to look at the basilisk, they would roll a DC 2 mind check, and failure means that you begin turning the stone, and then the next time you would roll again. You would either stop the process by succeeding on that DC 2, or you could actually turn the stone. Very dangerous indeed at the end of this adventure. And of course we have our treasure listed on the bottom. So that is Tinny Dungeons. What did you think about this? I thought it was really clever the way that it's put together. It's perfect for a one-shot adventure to the Orcish Treasury, and it gives you ideas with the maps so that you could actually do some role-playing beforehand. And not only that, but if you're into world building, this provides an entire beginning to a campaign setting. It can provide tons of inspiration for you, your players, and everything to get a campaign started in your home role-playing games. Now the version of Tinny Dungeons that I'm reviewing today is actually game version 1.0. In addition to everything that you see here today, the new version that has been updated to 1.1 as of November 2023 is going to include the map of the northern villages, the High Farm, the village guide with interesting NPCs and points of interest, including a potion seller, 2 new characters. You're going to have Mazdamir, the High Elf Death Knight, and Gudvin, the Wood Elf Ranger, and 2 new dungeons and adventures, the Abandoned Temple and the Flooded Cave. So be sure to check out the new version of Tinny Dungeons, available now. Pick up one for yourself or for a friend or game master. I'll put a link in the description below. So thank you again to Archmage Arispan for sending over the Tinny Dungeons, or the Tinny Dungeons, for my review. I really like this product. I think it provides a ton of inspiration. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.